This is the fourth video in a series featuring the birds of Hogganfield Park in Glasgow, starting July 2021. With a white throat, many pairs breed in the park, and we move on to a black-headed gull that was ringed in 2020. Into August and the first waders of the year, this was a surprise, with lapwing using the sandy beach. Normally they fly over, but this one was actually utilising the park proper. Moving on, we have the summering whipper swan that was suffering some wing problems, but it recovered and is doing well now. Some of the breeding birds, this is success with a young pied wagtail preening away, sitting on a post here. And again, young pied wagtails are common moving into the August-September period when visiting the park. You can see it wagging its tail there, and that's where they get the name from, the wagtail. As I said, this is a juvenile pied wagtail. So leaving the wagtail, we go into goldfinch, and here we have it sitting amongst some knapweed. That's the seed heads from a lovely little flower called the knapweed, and goldfinches absolutely love them, and you can get huge flocks of goldfinches in the hundreds in the autumn period whilst in the local nature reserve. This one's certainly enjoying getting some seeds from the knapweed head. And we move now on to another ringed black-headed gull. This one was ringed in the Moorfoot colonies, and that's on the east side of Scotland, and it was ringed in June 2019, so a couple of years old, and it's one of many black-headed gulls that winter and spend the autumn and early spring at Hogganfield Loch. Now we're moving away from the loch into the pond area, where you don't get so many birds in the pond, but this is a teal feeding away on the edges of the pond in amongst the reed mace and other vegetation. This looks like a female bird. The males are a lot brighter. It's a female mallard, it's just going past there, and another one. So the teal is smaller, one of the smallest ducks in the UK, certainly smaller than the mallard that I've just swam past it. But we're going back to the loch area now, and this is one of the biohavens put in by the Friends of Glasgow's local nature reserves, and this features another wader, probably the most common wader seen at Hogganfield. Still not that common, but they tend to sort of sit and preen on these biohavens, and it's of course an oyster catcher. Another scarce wader, and the first one I've ever seen at Hogganfield, was this green sandpiper that made a day visit to the park. This was an excellent surprise for everyone that saw it. This is an osprey. It's been harassed by a number of gulls, but it's clearly got its eyes set on the loch, and it's looking for its dinner, and it's disappearing in amongst the cloud, but it comes out the cloud cover and makes a determined effort to catch a fish, plunging straight into the loch. On this occasion it pulled out of the dive. Obviously the fish managed to escape its sights. However, one short circle of the loch still being harassed by gulls, and it manages to concentrate its vision onto a fish, plunge into the loch, and off it flies with a fish in its talons. So an excellent example of how expert ospreys are in not only seeing the fish, but making the adjustments so that when it plunges into the water, it can actually catch the fish. So off it flies, still being harassed by gulls, but I'm sure it had a lovely meal once it got back to its resting post. Now this is again the summer whooper swan, in amongst the mute swans and some black-headed gulls. It's preening away, and certainly its feathers look a lot better than they did earlier in the season. And this was a surprise, coming across a small flock of siskins as an adult bird feeding a youngster. One of the best and most beautiful birds in the UK as far as I'm concerned are the bullfinch. This is a male, and we're moving on now to the female, and with a magpie sitting in the background there. And this, trust me, is a jay flying away. I didn't get my camera set quickly enough. Moving on to September, and it's when birds start to feed up for the winter or their migration south. That was a male blackcap, and this is a female or a young blackcap. They have brown caps. And of course, it's a great place to see wildfowl. So we're finishing this particular video with a pair of gadwall swimming off into the sunset. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll have part 5 up very, very shortly.